welcome to Telugu One Academy. So these are the features of federalism. So how we generally differ these features. So as we said, there are two or more levels, two or more. For example, in India we have three levels. We have union government, we have state government, we also have local government, which is generally under the control of state governments, but it is also one tier. So two or more. So till 1992 we do not had this third level of the government, that is local self-government, or we call it as the panchayats or the municipalities, which by 73rd and 74th amendment we have given it a constitutional status in Article 243. So we may have two or more levels of the government, and these government will work in their given jurisdiction. For example, mana state lo Telangana kanivandi, Andhra Pradesh kanivandi, we have governments at their own level. So they will pass any act in their jurisdiction. If the assembly passes any act, that would applicable only in that state, so only that jurisdiction. So every state can pass a bill by their legislative action on their interested subject provided in state list. So here we have a jurisdiction, but when the parliament passes a bill, that is applicable for entire territory of India because it's a supreme law. So for example, different tiers of government govern the same citizens, but some legislations which are very strategic in nature, related to taxation, defense, communication, that generally parliament passes. So all these powers has been provided in the constitution. So we have the source in constitution. We say Schedule 7 of the Indian Constitution provides us the source in the form of three lists, that is division of powers: union list, state list and concurrent list. So when we say the features of federalism, the union government, that is the government at top level, cannot easily amend the constitution because there lies the interest of the states also, because it's a pure federal polity. Here powers are divided between the union government and the state government. So for any change or any amendment to that constitution need to have a support of the states also. That is, the top government or the union government cannot unilaterally, without taking the opinion or without taking the support of the states, cannot amend the constitution. So here we have a lot of ambiguity, because in our constitution there are many such provisions which could be amended by the central government or by the parliament unilaterally without taking any opinion, suggestion or support from the state governments. So even a new states can be created unilaterally by the parliament. For example, మన ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ తెలంగాణ విడిపోయింది, దానికి స్టేట్ అనుమతి అవసరం లేదు. ప్రెసిడెంట్ ఒక బిల్ పెడతారు, స్టేట్ దాన్ని కన్సిడర్ చేసినా చేయకపోయినా పార్లమెంట్లో సింపుల్ మెజారిటీతో మనము కొత్త స్టేట్స్ ఫామ్ చేయొచ్చు, బౌండరీస్ చేంజ్ చేసుకోవచ్చు, స్టేట్స్ యొక్క పేర్లు మార్చుకోవచ్చు, ప్లేసెస్ యొక్క పేర్లు మార్చుకోవచ్చు. సో అంత పెద్ద స్థాయిలో మనము పార్లమెంట్ దగ్గర పవర్ ఉంది. సో పార్లమెంట్ కెన్ ఈజీలీ అమెండ్ ద కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్, అండ్ we have many such provisions in our constitution which can be amended unilaterally by the parliament. So do we call that we have a federal kind of system? Do we follow a federal polity? Obviously no, because when parliament has such a huge power to change the names of the state or to create new states or to combine states, so definitely we are not following the system of federation here. That is why we say we are not pure form of federal polity. We are following a quasi-federal, because our most of the provisions are bent towards the union government. So here, as we are discussing the features of federation, we need to know that the fundamental provisions, that is the important provisions which are concerned for both union and state governments, cannot be unilaterally changed by one level of government. So here in federation, the union government cannot change the provisions which affects the states unilaterally. That is, only the union government cannot change. It has to be passed by the consent of states also. Even in our Indian constitution, we have few provisions where such bill which affects the federalism of the country need to be passed by special majority, and then given assent by more than half of the states. More than half of the states should support such bill. That is, once the bill is passed in the parliament, there in states also such bills should be passed. That is, more than half of the states should pass such bill. For example, when we take GST, that is goods and service taxes, that is a bill, that is an act which generally affects all the states. For example, we have panchayat system, local government. Actually, the local government is a state subject, because to bring a uniformity in India, every state should apply or should follow the same provisions, so that we have a local self-government uniformly applied and there is no inequality in the state governments. Central government has taken that bill and it have passed by help of the more than half of the states, and then it could become an act. Similarly, when we say a unitary government, where a union government can amend the constitution unilaterally without taking any support from the states, but that is not a feature of federation. It's a unitary feature. Here in federation, the fundamental provisions cannot be amended by the union government unilaterally. So such changes requires the consent of the state government. State government should show its consent, should show its support to bring such acts which affects the state's government, that is state governments. Here courts are independent. When we have discussed the characteristic features of federalism, we have independent courts, and in federation, wherever the union government passes such acts which affects the autonomy or independency of the state governments, courts will come and it will interpret the law or the act whatever the government has passed. So when we say independent judiciary, court will obviously interpret that law, and if it is against the constitution or against the fundamental provisions of the constitution which negates the principles of federation or autonomy, definitely such laws are declared void. So such laws are not inconsistent with the constitution. Those are declared void by the court, because courts are the supreme power to interpret such law. Here in federation, we have given autonomy to the states to impose or levy taxes. Here also we have taxation at two levels, that is union government will also impose tax. Few taxes are like union government will levy, collect and distribute among the states, and we have few taxes which are levied by the union government but collected by the states, and then such taxes are given to the union and union government will again distribute among the states. And we also have a few taxes which are levied, collected and dispersed by the state government. So all these matters of revenue in federal polity, where the states have given autonomy for the power of taxation. So that is the feature of federalism, where source of revenue is autonomous, that is financial autonomy. This is an important word, financial autonomy, because in many circumstances there is a disturbance between the center and state relations on this matters. For example, there was also a lot of discussion on GST. Even many states has opposed GST, goods and service taxes, because there the central government would encroach on the financial autonomy of the states. Here the independency of the state to levy the taxes is generally taken away by the union government, only because to bring a taxation network, that is one nation one tax concept, the union government has passed the GST bill. Obviously, initially many states has opposed it, but gradually the things have fallen in places. Now we have the concept of one nation one tax in the form of GST, because the union government has given lot of autonomy in the matter of financial, the states to have taxation powers, or to get the percentage of revenue which has been collected by the central government in various proportions. So here the financial autonomy is given to the provinces or the tier 2 level, that is the feature of federalism. So federal system has dual objective. Main objectives of the federal system is to safeguard and promote the unity of the country. Why we say that? Generally the integrity and unity of country is protected by the unitary form of government, but here because we have such a diverse population or diverse geographical entity, definitely if the power is centralized at one level, it may not be good for the healthier democracy, because even state has their own interest. Every state is different in terms of geography, in terms of religion, region and all. So even the states has to be given a power or autonomous to function for their administration. So here when the union government decentralizes the power or decentralizes the authority by delegating their legislative power, or by devolving more finances to the states, obviously the union government will play as a big brother, where all the states will follow the suggestions of the union government, but here the union government do not interfere in day-to-day things or day-to-day administration at the state level. So that would definitely protect the unity of the country. Or if there is a power or hegemony of the union government, there would bring a revolution where the people are not happy with the way the union government is suppressing the state governments. Obviously government do not function, or the relation between the union and state will be bitter. So we have a federal system where we could safeguard and promote the unity of the country. This, why we talk about unity? Because we have such a diversity. Where there is such a diversity, there have to be decentralized polity. There has to be a delegation of authority and devolution of finances. And this is possible only when we have dual system of government. One government at a union level, which generally thinks about the strategic things, that is defense. We have communication. We have other things like international affairs and all. That it has to be with the union government, and the state government should be given power to act on its own administration. So these are the two dual objectives of federal system: to protect and promote unity and to accommodate regional diversity. As we know, we are a very heterogeneous country. We have different region, religion, caste, and in caste also we have different sections. We have agrarian polity, we have industrial things. So all these sectors also need to be brought at level. So we need to have a system of federation where the union government generally give autonomy to the states to protect their diversity. So here we will discuss the federal features of the Constitution. We have generally had a brief introduction. So dual polity is there. We have two systems at two levels. As we know in India, we have polity at union government and the state government. We have a written constitution. In India, we have a written constitution. The constitution is written, and that is the reason why we have such a gigantic constitution. It is very lengthy because we have added each and every provisions, be it from all the three branches of the government, that is legislature, executive and judiciary. So every detail is mentioned in our constitution to avoid ambiguity, and because the constitution is the source of the power for both union government and the state government, obviously our constitution become more bulky. So we have written constitution, we have division of powers. మన కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్లోనే పవర్స్ని డివైడ్ చేయబడింది. యూనియన్ గవర్నమెంట్ స్టేట్ గవర్నమెంట్ యొక్క పవర్స్ని డివైడ్ చేసింది కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్లోనే, అది మెన్షన్ చేసి ఉంది. యూనియన్ లిస్ట్, స్టేట్ లిస్ట్ అండ్ కన్కరెంట్ లిస్ట్. సో ఈ డివిజన్ ఆఫ్ పవర్స్లో యూనియన్ లిస్ట్లో ఏవైతే మెన్షన్ చేయబడినాయో పార్లమెంట్ వాటి మీద పూర్తి హక్కు ఉంది చట్టం తీసుకురావడానికి. అలానే స్టేట్ గవర్నమెంట్లో ఉన్న సబ్జెక్ట్స్ మీద స్టేట్ గవర్నమెంట్స్కి పూర్తి హక్కు ఉంటుంది వాటి మీద చట్టాలు తీసుకోవడానికి. కన్కరెంట్ లిస్ట్లో ఉన్న సబ్జెక్ట్స్ మీద రెండు యూనియన్ గవర్నమెంట్ మరియు స్టేట్ గవర్నమెంట్ రెండు చట్టాలు చేసుకోవచ్చు. సో వీ హ్యావ్ అ డివిజన్ ఆఫ్ పవర్. We have a supremacy of the constitution. As when we have discussed the differences between unitary and federal polity, we said supremacy of the constitution. Unitary polity లో యూనిటరీ టైప్ ఆఫ్ గవర్నమెంట్లో కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ అనేది సుప్రీం ఉండవచ్చు ఉండకపోవచ్చు, కానీ ఫెడరల్ సిస్టంలో మాత్రం ఖచ్చితంగా కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ అనేది సుప్రీంగా ఉండాలి. ఇక్కడ యూనియన్ గవర్నమెంట్ కానివ్వండి, పార్లమెంట్ కానివ్వండి సుప్రీం కాదు, మన రాజ్యాంగం సుప్రీం. ఎందుకంటే రాజ్యాంగం అనేదే మనకి ఈ పవర్ అనేది మెన్షన్ చేసిబడింది. ఇన్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ వీ హ్యావ్ పవర్స్ గివెన్ టు బోత్ యూనియన్ గవర్నమెంట్ అండ్ స్టేట్ గవర్నమెంట్స్. మనం రిజిడ్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ అనుకున్నాము. అగైన్ విల్ డిస్కస్ దిస్ ఇన్ వెరీ డీటెయిల్. వెన్ వీ సే రిజిడ్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్, ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ ఈజీ టు అమెండ్ ద కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్. ఇట్ ఈస్ రిజిడ్. రిజిడ్ అంటే కష్టంగా, కఠినమైన రాజ్యాంగం. ఎందుకు కఠినం అంటే దానికి 2/3 మెజారిటీ కావాలి. ఆ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ని అమెండ్ చేయాలంటే 2/3 మెజారిటీ కావాలి. That 2/3 majority should be again more than half of the members of the house. అది పార్లమెంట్లో లోక్సభ కానివ్వండి, రాజ్యసభ కానివ్వండి 50% కన్నా ఎక్కువ ఉండాలి. ప్రజెంట్ అండ్ ఓటింగ్ అనేది 2/3 కన్నా తక్కువ ఉండకూడదు. సో బికాస్ అలాంటి ప్రొవిజన్ అనేది ఒక కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ని మనం అమెండ్ చేస్తుంటే 2/3 ప్రొవిజన్ అనేది చాలా కష్టం కాబట్టి రిజిడ్ అవుతుంది. సో ద పార్లమెంట్ కెనాట్ ఈజీలీ అమెండ్ ద కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ బికాజ్ ఫెడరేషన్ ఇస్ దేర్. స్టేట్ హ్యాస్ టు షో ఇట్స్ కన్సెంట్. ఇండిపెండెంట్ జ్యుడిషియరీ, ఫెడరల్ ఫీచర్స్లో ఇండిపెండెంట్ జ్యుడిషియరీ, మనకు న్యాయశాఖ అనేది ఖచ్చితంగా ఒక యూనియన్ గవర్నమెంట్లో మాత్రమే పరిమితం అవ్వకూడదు, స్టేట్స్ గవర్నమెంట్కి కూడా ఒక ఇండిపెండెన్స్ ఉంటుంది. సో మన పాలిటీలో ఇప్పుడు మనం చూస్తున్నాము సుప్రీంకోర్టు అనేది టాప్ లెవెల్ కోర్ట్, ప్రతి హైకోర్టు అనేది సుప్రీంకోర్టు కిందనే పనిచేస్తాయి. సో మనది ఇండిపెండెంట్ జ్యుడిషియరీ కాదు, మనది ఇంటిగ్రేటెడ్ జ్యుడిషియరీ. కానీ ఫెడరల్ ఫీచర్లో మనం మాట్లాడితే ఖచ్చితంగా జ్యుడిషియరీ అనేది ఇండిపెండెంట్ ఉండాలి. బైకామరలిజం, రెండు, వీ హ్యావ్ 2 houses in parliament. So this we have mentioned in 7th schedule of the constitution. As we have discussed union list, we have discussed state list, we have discussed concurrent list. So ఈ 3 లిస్టులు అనేది డివిజన్ ఆఫ్ పవర్స్ కింద వస్తుంది. మనము what we follow today, we have 3 lists mentioned in 7th schedule of the constitution. Because we have mentioned all this list and we have very detailed provision, even now we have entire local self government is also mentioned in our constitution. We have created a new schedule for local self government, that is for both municipalities and for the panchayats. We have created a separate schedule, we have created a separate part. So because we have added all those provisions, we have a lengthiest constitution, because the constitution is the source of power for both union government and state governments. So the constitution, why we have a written constitution? Because we also have unwritten constitution in Britain. Their unwritten in sense the things are not codified. We have a written constitution and very detailed constitution in entire world. Our constitution itself says that what we are following. No, right from preamble, in preamble itself our constitution shows that how the constitution reflects. So we have the structure here, in sense ours is a parliamentary form of government. The parliament, the polity we follow is a republican kind of polity. So all those structure is mentioned in the constitution. We have mentioned that the India is a union of states. So it is not a federal polity. We have a union of states because we have not brought the states together by agreement as it has done in United States of America. We have divided our states for administrative convenience. So to bring good governance, to deliver good service to the people, we have decentralized the power. Otherwise, we would be having a different polity. So we are not binded by an agreement. So we have structure clearly mentioned. We have organization in sense like we have parliament, we have president, we have vice president, we have all the things, all the constitutional bodies like UPSC, election commission, we have CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General, Attorney General, Advocate General. All these constitutional bodies are mentioned in the constitution, and we also have other bodies, though it is not mentioned in the constitution, but it has given the parliament, the constitution has given the parliament the power to create such bodies whenever it needed. So all those organizations are mentioned in the constitution, and we also have powers. See, when we talk about the president, what powers the president have, what powers the prime minister have, powers of judiciary and powers of all those constitutional bodies which are mentioned in the constitution. So the powers are also mentioned in the constitution, and we have the jurisdiction of state government, the jurisdictions of local self-government. Because all these have mentioned clearly, and it is not possible to just codify, we have to have a written constitution so that there is no ambiguity, and that is the feature of federal polity, that is written constitution. Division of powers, as again we have discussed, we have three lists: union list, state list and concurrent list. Generally now at present we have 100 important subjects in the union list. So we have 61 subjects in state list. So union has more subjects, and that is why we call as the system, the federal system, bent towards union government. So both the central government and the state government can bring law on concurrent list, because union list is purely the jurisdiction of union government. State list, the subjects mentioned in the state list has a pure jurisdiction where the state can bring law, but in concurrent list both union government and state government has the power to bring law. But if there is any problem or where there is any contradiction between the powers of union government and the state government, obviously the union government's law would prevail, because union government is ultimate authority here. It will supersede the powers of the state government if the matter is in concurrent list. Again, we have supremacy of the constitution. As we said, in federal polity, the constitution is supreme, not like Britain where the parliament is supreme, but here supremacy of the constitution would ensure that even the provincial governments, that is the state governments, would act in their own interest, not having or causing harm to the sovereignty of the country or unity, integrity of the country. The state can make laws within their jurisdiction for day-to-day administration. So ultimately, we need to know that the unity and integrity of the country should be protected, which obviously is in the hand of the union government. But here the constitution is supreme. So the organs of the government, legislature, executive and judiciary, all these three organs would function under their mentioned jurisdiction in the constitution. So we have legislature, We have part 5, everything is mentioned there. We have executive, even executive, that is what is executive? As we know, we have a dual role, because the people elected or the representatives elected directly by the people, those people only would be a part of executive, unlike in America, where the member of parliament are not part of the executive. So we have a different thing, like American state or the USA follows presidential form of government. India follows prime ministerial form of government, as we generally know, borrowed from Britain. So here in legislature, the same people will be a part of executive, that is cabinet. We have a cabinet form of government. So the elected MPs will be a part of cabinet, and the cabinet is the highest decision making body. And we have independent judiciary. We have Supreme Court, we have High Court, we have metropolitan courts, district courts. So other such courts would have a separate organ. So all these organs of the government will derive its power from the constitution. So ultimately supremacy of the constitution prevails here in India. In British, parliament is supreme. So supremacy of the constitution is a federal feature. Here a rigid constitution, as we have discussed, for rigid constitution, that is the constitution should be amended by 2/3 of majority. That is, we have called this as a special majority. So this is special majority. Unlike simple majority, where the members sitting in the house and more than 50% of the members give support to such bill, it will become an act. So it's very simple to amend a constitution having a simple majority. In rigid constitution, we need to amend the constitution by 2/3 of the people present and voting, and that 2/3 of the people present and voted should be more than half of the total member of the house. So that is rigid constitution. So it is bit difficult, and that is the reason why United States Constitution has been amended very few times, and we could see Indian Constitution, it's been amended many times. So we could easily say that the 42nd Amendment is called a mini constitution. So many provisions has been amended by simple majority, because our constitution is not rigid. Many provisions of the constitution, excepting few things, can be amended by the union government unilaterally, that is by not taking any support of the state governments. So the rigid constitution is the feature of federalism, not flexible constitution. So when we say rigid constitution, it is all about the method of amendment, as we generally have in Article 368, the method of amendment. We have mentioned it under Article 368. So this we would be discussing in the amendment of the constitution. It's a separate topic to deal with. So independent judiciary, this is followed in United States of America, where we have two judicial systems. One is federal judiciary and one is judiciary at the states. Though we also have judiciary at the states, that is High Court in all the states or most of the states. We in High Court generally work under the administrative supervision of the Supreme Court. We have apex court, that is Supreme Court, which is the ultimate protector of the constitution. Under Supreme Court only we have all these courts, high courts and district courts. So right from their appointment, transfer or any administrative matters should be under the supervision of the Supreme Court. That is not a federal feature. I am saying again, India does not follow a federal feature when it comes to the judiciary. We have integrated type of judiciary, but the federal feature is where we should have an independent judiciary, as we have in United States of America. So it is headed by the Supreme Court. Here Supreme Court's main function is to protect the constitution or to interpret the constitution whenever any law is passed by the union government or the state government, and if such law or against the constitution or if such law invalidates the constitution, then those are declared as void. They are not inconsistent with the constitution. So to protect the supremacy of the constitution, we have the power of judiciary, that is called judicial review. The judiciary will become proactive and it will jump into the action to ensure that any law passed by the legislature should not be against the constitution. So that is independent judiciary. It does not work under legislature or it is not below executive. It is completely independent. So the power of judicial review ensures that the court acts in an independent way without coming under the control of the legislature. Because when we say we have a written constitution and the constitution is supreme, here it is the judiciary which protects the constitution and it ensures that the constitution is supreme. Whatever the power is given by the constitution to the union government, to the state government, should be in their jurisdiction. They should not bring any law which crosses the jurisdiction. So that is, independent judiciary is the feature of federal polity. And here we have bicameralism, as we say, any feature of federal polity should have these things, because when we say autonomy or autonomous powers are given to the states should get representation at higher level. When we say upper house, that is Rajya Sabha, రాజ్యం అంటే స్టేట్ ఇక్కడ. సో స్టేట్ నుంచి ఒక రిప్రజెంటేషన్ పార్లమెంట్లో ఉండాలి. అక్కడ పార్లమెంట్లో ఏ బిల్ అయినా పాస్ చేయడానికి స్టేట్ కన్సర్న్ కూడా చూసుకోవాలి. సో ఇప్పుడు మనకున్న పరిస్థితుల్లో పార్లమెంట్ అంటే లోక్సభ, రాజ్యసభ మరియు ప్రెసిడెంట్. పార్లమెంట్లో ఈ 3 పార్ట్స్ ఉంటాయి, లోక్సభ, రాజ్యసభ అండ్ ప్రెసిడెంట్. లోక్సభలో ఒక బిల్ పాస్ అయితే ఖచ్చితంగా అది రాజ్యసభలో పాస్ అవ్వాలి. దాని తర్వాత ప్రెసిడెంట్ యొక్క ఆమోదం అవుతేనే ఆ బిల్ అనేది చట్టం రూపంలో వస్తుంది. సో హియర్ ఈ రాజ్యసభకి ఇంపార్టెన్స్ ఎందుకు ఇచ్చారంటే, మనది ఫెడరల్ పాలిటీ ఫాలో అవుతాం కాబట్టి స్టేట్స్కి సంబంధించిన సబ్జెక్ట్స్ మీద యూనియన్ గవర్నమెంట్కి ఎక్కువ పవర్స్ ఉండకూడదు, ఎందుకంటే అది స్టేట్ యొక్క అటానమస్కి వ్యతిరేకంగా ఉంటుంది. కానీ కొన్ని సబ్జెక్ట్స్ వెన్ వీ హ్యావ్ నేషనల్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ రిలేటెడ్ టు డిఫెన్స్, interest related to integrity, or when we have other subjects which affects our foreign relations, so such subjects have should be helped or given support by state governments also. So here we have Rajya Sabha, which is one of the houses in the parliament. So that is the bicameralism, where the members represents the states. But this is again when we say that when we compare to United States of America, even there we have bicameralism, but there they have given equal importance to all the states, be it geographically bigger or smaller. There will be 2 representatives which will be represented in the Senate, that is the upper house. But in India, Rajya Sabha members go to parliament, or Rajya Sabha members depends upon the population of such states. The larger the states, the more will be the members represented in the Rajya Sabha. So here the Rajya Sabha represents the states of Indian Federation. So obviously we need to pass a bill and there have to be a support in Rajya Sabha also, because we have seen many bills which could not become act because it has not passed in Rajya Sabha. So that helps the protection of interest of the states also. Even the 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment bill, which tried to before becoming an act, there were 64th amendment bill which could not pass in Rajya Sabha. So it has an effect on the autonomy of the state. So even Rajya Sabha should give its it should also pass the bill to make it a law. So here Rajya Sabha represents the state, and Lok Sabha represents the entire country as a whole. It is the people of India. Here nothing to do with the states. Once we have elections, elections will be held throughout the India. When we have elections to the parliament, the elections are held throughout the India. So Lok Sabha, Lok means people. So this house represents the people. Rajya Sabha represents the states. That is the feature of federal polity, that is bicameralism. So these are the important features what we have, which gives the federation more priority, prominence to the federal polity, where the power has been distributed equally among the union government and the state government. So though we do not follow the purest form of federalism, but it is also not true that we follow purely unitary form of government. We have mix of both unitary form of government and federal form of government. That we would be discussing in the features of unitary form of government. Then we compare both form of government. We'll discuss this in our next class. Thank you.